Thanks, Cheryl. Sorry, I had muted myself there, but anyway, thank you so much for attending. Our expectation is that most of you are GP users, and so our focus is on defining a little bit more clearly what Dynamics CRM if you're not using it, and why you should integrate Dynamics GP and CRM and the value you'll get from that. So our agenda is laid out as follows. First of all, what is Dynamics CRM? Why integrate? What the tools are to allow you to integrate between Dynamics GP and CRM. Some common integration points, and when we talk about this, I don't want anyone to feel like that those are the only ones. And then I want to talk about sharing data as opposed to actually integrating data. We'll talk about that a little bit, and then we'll just talk about a couple things in regards to CRM, in regards to mobility, some recommendations that we'll make, and then at the end we'll answer any follow-up questions. But as we go along, if you have questions, certainly feel free to either raise your hand or ask along the way. So first of all, like I said, we're going to define Dynamics CRM a little bit more for those of you who may not be using it today or who are new with it, and then show you how integrating Dynamics CRM and GP can streamline your business. As you can see here, we have just a quick screenshot of Dynamics GP and CRM, and really just to kind of give you some sense of what Dynamics CRM is all about. CRM as a rule is customer relationship management, which includes contact management, marketing management, sales management. And when I talk about sales management, I mean everything that goes along through the sales workflow process, from lead to close sale, managing opportunities, etc. And for those of you who don't know, CRM also incorporates a service management component that can track service calls and service contracts, do things like knowledge bases, etc. And CRM is available in two different modes. CRM is available as an online product that will be in the cloud, either on Azure, which is Microsoft's cloud. It could be hosted on Associates Cloud, or other options as well. And it's also available on premise, and we have clients that are doing both, as a matter of fact. And your circumstances will help drive what's important and why you would go one way or the other. But the one thing I want to make sure that you understand is that neither way is going to be limited in regards to integrating with Dynamics GP. So to go back a little bit, actually I want to go back just a little bit and kind of talk about why we would want to integrate Dynamics GP and CRM. And really the first reason is that it eliminates redundancy. So master records are set up only once. So when I talk about that, I'm talking about customers, contacts, items. And you'll want to make some decisions in regards to where the master lives. And what I mean by that is who owns the customer. And in many cases, that will be the accounting department. And so customers may be set up and maintained in Dynamics GP, but shared back out to CRM. Contacts, the same thing. But contacts may be more often maintained through CRM, because really there may only be a few contacts that really interface with the accounting side and the billing side. And then also items. And again, this is a place where oftentimes we see that items are actually maintained on the accounting side, and then the sales side then has access to that information. And there are a lot of variables that go into all of this in regards to what your process flow is and what will allow you to be most efficient and effective and still maintain the controls that are important to you. Also then, transactions are only entered once, And so, as you would expect, and your processes may vary based upon your organization and what products you offer, etc., and how you offer them. But the CRM has the ability to go through a process of quoting, ordering, and then that order can be then fulfilled and then invoiced. So it's very common for quotes and orders to be set up and entered directly into CRM. When a quote becomes an order, or when an order is entered directly, then it would be processed through CRM and integrated directly into Dynamics CRM. And we'll have options in regards to regularity or timing of that. So whether it's live or every hour or every 15 minutes or every day, however often that needs to take place. But the idea here is that by using CRM in conjunction with Dynamics GP, you eliminate the need to enter transactions and records into one system and then enter them again into another system. And by doing so, then we come to bullet point number 2, which is really improving data integrity, because your records are synchronized. They're not rekeyed. And so that allows us to certainly make sure that they are correct and not miskeyed the second time through. So we really feel like, as you look at your business processes, you may find that this can be an incredible time savings as well as a customer service improvement issue as well. And that goes to the next point, which is providing process controls. And this is a common thing, is that sales team or a sales assistant may actually enter an order without actually being in Dynamics GP, but accounting still has the ability to review the transaction before processing and releasing it to distribution. So by entering that transaction, you are eliminating your sales team's need to be in the accounting solution, or you're eliminating the need to have someone doing order entry on the accounting side. So it can be a cost savings from that perspective, as well as the others that I've already talked about. And then the ability for the accounting team to still have control through the accounting solution, through GP, allows you to make sure that things are properly processed and then fulfilled and billed. The other thing that I think is probably as important as anything in regards to why you'd want to integrate Dynamics GP and CRM is the need to provide greater insight across the organization. So I'm not sure about any of your organizations individually, but what I do know is that oftentimes we run across organizations that when they have disconnected systems, they work in silos, and so or they have to do extra work to create the kind of information that they need to share across those groups within the organization. So finance may need certain information that the sales team needs to provide, or vice versa, and by having these solutions integrated and defining proper staff access, you really can get one view of the truth. The other thing that I think is as important in all of this is also having a complete organizational view of the activity that's going on with a client. So as an example, if you have a sales team, wouldn't it be nice for them to know that your service team was just out the day before yesterday working on an activity to fix a problem, or that the accounting team just put them on credit hold because they haven't paid their bills? And so we're going to talk a little bit about how that comes into play, but you know, it really knocks down some barriers. It eliminates some extra work and passing data back and forth by having one integrated solution. The other thing that's great about this is then being able to provide that information in the proper media. And what I mean by that is having this information available in a mobile fashion if necessary, and we'll talk more about that, or being able to provide it through the web, so certain reports can be available that way, or just having those reports embedded in Dynamics CRM, and staff have appropriate access to those pieces of information. So I'm going to go into a little bit of information about what our integration tools are, and I'll start with, and I'm going to kind of enter these or talk about these in order of, I guess maybe complexity. So first of all, there is a free Dynamics connector that is available from Microsoft for Dynamics GP. And so what that allows us to do is that allows us to connect GP and CRM in certain places, and I'll show you some of how that connection works. There's also a tool called Smart Connect, and many of you may already use Smart Connect because it is a GP integration tool as well as a CRM integration tool. And so, and what I mean by that is the folks at E1 that have created Smart Connect have created dictionaries, so to speak, or maps that are available that allow us to check data integrity as data flows back and forth. These connectors really then make sure that we're passing valid data back in from accounting to CRM and from CRM back to accounting. So we talked about some of those integration points, but Smart Connect is certainly a tool that was written with GP and CRM in mind, so there's some natural connection. So the third tool that we have available is called Scribe, and Scribe is probably, in regards to CRM implementations, our most widely used tool because it provides probably the most flexibility, whereas Smart Connect provides good flexibility but maybe and has a nicer user interface, and then the Dynamics connector probably provides the least amount of flexibility. And so I think my bullet point at the bottom is really the key, is the right integration tool for you will depend upon your specific requirements. But you should expect, and so I think it's important for you to consult your associate's consultant for more information and get their opinion in regards to what tool you should use for your specific situation. I will say this, the more unique that your integration requirements are, both from an in and an out perspective, the more likely that you'll get involved with a Smart Connect or Scribe, and in most cases, unless you already have Smart Connect for your GP, we will use Scribe as our tool of choice. So the most common integration points are customers, addresses, items. So if your organization sells inventory items, then certainly items are going to be important, orders, and then invoices. So those are the most common integration points. So, and I'll talk more about how those translate here in just in a minute. But I don't want you to feel limited to any of that. And I know that everyone has some unique needs in regards to collecting additional information, and it may be related to customers or items or orders. But you should feel comfortable that we have the tools available to allow us to pass that information back and forth. So what I thought I would do is just give you the map of the most simple connection or integration tool that we provide, and maybe we'll go down through this and just talk about this a little bit. So in regards to Dynamics CRM and Dynamics GP using the connector, there is a connection with the account in CRM. So if you're a CRM user, an account is equivalent to a customer in GP. There are, and maybe less often, but the contacts that you have in CRM and the customer. And notice that those are bi-directional integrations. And so again, this gets back to what I was talking about a little bit earlier on who owns the master database and how this all works together. So those are some decisions that you'll have to make in regards to are all customers defined in GP first, and how do you want to handle that? And then in regards to contacts, whether you really just have one contact in accounting for billing purposes, but in CRM you may have 15 people that you work with at a client site. There are some other things that are integrated, and so I'll talk in general that we have things like flat fee, kit, miscellaneous charges, sales items, and service items, and this all relates to inventory. And those are the different types of inventory items that you can set up. And if you'll notice that those are all, with this tool, all a single direction from GP to CRM. And what that means is that if you're using the Dynamics connector, you will have to make sure that those get set up in GP first, and then they will populate over to CRM. And along with those items, you also have what are called price levels. And so how do I price my items when I invoice? Price levels can be defined in the GP inventory module, and you can assign individual customers to price levels. And then you'll notice at the bottom then we also have unit of measure schedules. So do I buy items in eaches and sell them in, or do I buy them in cases and sell them in eaches, or how do I translate those quantities and how I purchase and how I sell, and can that vary? And so those unit of measure schedules are going to need to translate from GP and the inventory over to Dynamics CRM. You'll also notice here that we have sales orders and sales invoices. And the order is actually bi-directional, and that may be because there are changes that can be made to an order, and that can go back and forth between a CRM and GP. And notice that the invoice is single direction. So you can create an invoice in GP and then make it visible inside of Dynamics CRM. So this is the traditional Dynamics connector. When it comes to things like Smart Connect and Scribe, we'll have more flexibility in regards to defining some of these as bidirectional if necessary. And then we won't be limited to this list. We'll be able to integrate additional fields. So as an example, if you collect additional user-defined information about a customer, you have that in CRM. You may also have that in GP for reporting purposes, and you'll be able to pass that information back and forth very easily that way. So I just wanted to include a couple examples here. So you'll notice on the left-hand side of the screen I have a Dynamics CRM window for Blue Yonder Airlines. And what's important in CRM isn't always the same as what's going to be important inside of GP, because GP is more of a billing tool and CRM is managing interactions. So you'll notice that we have Blue Yonder and Blue Yonder, but you'll also notice that CRM is really focused on interactions and so forth, contacts, opportunities, pipeline, all of that's going to be collected in Dynamics CRM, whereas really on the GP side you're really just most interested in getting the billing contact and addresses and some basic information that way. So then also I thought it would be useful to show you another window that's important, and I realized after I put my slide deck together that these two items aren't the same, but you'll notice that on the left we have a product, and some of the things that are important is you do have what are called price lists, and a price list is a price level in GP, so there is some naming convention difference between the two, but ultimately the price list allows us to then define the individual pricing that gets set up in GP but then gets passed over to Dynamics CRM. So if I enter orders directly into Dynamics CRM, the information is based upon the core information that I set up in GP's inventory. So I want to kind of back up a second. So we've talked a lot about integration, but you know, really part of integration is visibility to data. And so if I go back to this screen, I'm doing a true integration or a customer, an item. I'm actually able to say that I set up this customer in Dynamics GP, and that's my master, and it automatically will send information over to CRM so that that customer then exists as an account. And notice that it is labeled an account versus a customer in GP. It does then transfer that information over. So there is data transacting between the two solutions. The same be true with my inventory items, etc., based on that list that we talked about. But the other thing that's important, and this is just one example that we have from a client of ours, is they actually want their sales team to have visibility into a customer's activity. And so we actually can create what's called an iframe. So this is actually an iframe that would be in CRM. So you can go into a window and you can actually look at order information that is actually residing in Dynamics GP but is visible inside of Dynamics CRM. Some other examples of where this comes into play is, and is very common, is it's important for an individual salesperson perhaps to know the status of each account and whether they have open invoices and how old those are. So it's very common for, and that actually may, in real life, may end up affecting their commission. So they may be only paid once the customer has paid the organization. And so those ground rules, if those ground rules are set, then it would be important for them to have visibility into whether the invoices that have the product's been delivered and the invoices have been sent, that those are actually paid. And so other cases might be just information about certain user-defined information that you're collecting in one of the solutions or the other. And if any of you are using the extender module inside of GP, information can be passed back and forth to collect that special data that might be in GP. And the extender module is actually also an E1 product, just like Smart Connect, so it's really easy to pass that data back and forth between the solutions. All right, so I guess the other thing that I wanted to make sure that you knew about is this is actually the fact that the Dynamics CRM is mobile. And so what this means is that a salesperson can be on the road with, in this case, a phone or a tablet, and they can have access to their Dynamics CRM from here. And so they'll have visibility into accounts. They can make appointments. They can enter service cases. They can add new contacts. They also have the ability to send email messages that are associated with individual accounts or leads or opportunities. And all of that can be done from a phone, like an iPhone or an Android or a Microsoft phone, and it can also be done via tablets of a variety of different versions. And so the reason I mention that is that if they make updates to certain records here, that information will then, based upon the way we configure our integrations, will be made available then inside of Dynamics GP as well. So if an account is updated to a new address, that would happen. Now today, out of the box, Dynamics GP and Dynamics CRM does not allow for orders to be entered via this method. However, everything else that all the interactions that you have with an individual account are handled through the tablet or phone. So some recommendations that I think are important as you get involved with this and determine how you're going to integrate is understand your organizational requirements, and not just the requirements on the sales side or not just the requirements on the accounting side, but really the organizational requirements at large. This allows you to then make better determinations on design, so that all the team members are going to be able to get the information as they need it, and that's part of the importance of integrating these two solutions, is allowing people to get the information. And if you think about that, how many phone calls will you be able to not participate in? How many customer questions do you not have to worry about? And how much better can your customer service and your billing be if you design the system with the overall organization in mind? It's also going to be very important, as a subset of that, is to be able to define the team members and their roles and responsibilities in the organization, so that we determine who has access to what data, who has the ability to update, who has the ability to view data, and who has access to both CRM and GP, etc. And as we said before, I think one of the things that's probably as important, if anything, as anything else, is then determining the system that owns the master data. So who owns the customers, who owns the items, and so I think it's really important for you to determine that. And your workflow internally may drive that, and it may change based upon using these two solutions together. But like I said before, it's pretty common to have customers and items owned by accounting, and going through some sort of an approval process before they're actually added into the solution. And then when we set up this integration, then we'll have the ability to define the information and how often it passes back and forth. And then also, I think it's important, as we just talked about, to define reporting and business intelligence requirements, so that we know when we implement these solutions together what kind of information is necessary and who needs it. So like we had there, that giving salespeople availability to an iframe that shows them all of the individual orders for a customer can be very important as they build and maintain their relationship with that customer. And understanding the status of open invoices and collection activity will also keep everyone on the right track and in sync. And then lastly, if service is a part of your organization, knowing what service calls and what issues that a customer has had prior to going out on a sales call would certainly help you better understand what your opportunities really are and what your chances of success are. And if you have a problem, it also gives you the opportunity to see that up front and nip it in the bud ahead of time, so that you're more informed and you can react more quickly to your client's needs. And so that really is the extent of the discussion that I had prepared. I assumed that we would end up with some questions, and we also have Chad, one of our CRM consultants on the line too, and he can provide additional feedback and answers if you have questions that you'd like to get addressed.